Hey guys, welcome back to my Daily News X, your spot for breaking stories, sharp analysis, and a dash of perspective. Well, I'm your host Kramer, and today I'll bring you a statement directed from the Pentagon. Prepare for war. That was delivered by the Defense Secretary, Mr. Pete Hegseth, today. So what's behind it, and what does it mean for America and for us citizens? Well, that's something that we're going to explain here today in this segment, and we're going to talk about it. What was said, and why is it getting attention all over the U.S.? Well, last week, Mr. Peter Hegseth addressed a rare gathering of top generals and flag officers at a Marine Corps base in Quantico, Virginia. In his remarks, he declared that from here on out, the United States must prepare for war. Just like it sounds. Not just to defend, but to be ready to fight and win. He even referred to the Department of Defense as the Department of War. Just like the old times, back in the 70s and 80s, the name was Department of War. Signaling a shift in mindset. U.S. Department of War, he emphasized, rising physical standards, removing what he called distracting policies, restoring a culture of risk-taking, and re-empowering commanders to enforce discipline. Now, a lot of you guys are asking yourself and wondering, what's going on? What is this? Why this meeting? Is it just a posture or a real shift in his strategy? Well, there's two major big reasons why he's doing this to his military, and I'm going to explain why right now. The number one reason is great power competition and rising threats. The war is more contested today, especially with nations like Russia and China pursuing assertive military strategies. The Pentagon is recalibrating to face possible high-end conflict, not just low-intensity wars or counterinsurgency. This is also paired with hybrid threats, meaning cyber attacks, supply chain disruptions, disinformation that blur the lines between peace and conflict. Also, I want to talk about another major reason, and this is probably something that has to do with this, and it's probably why this is happening as well. And this is called internal reform and military identity. So Hegseth's agenda involves cultural overhaul. He argues that the military has become risk-averse, meaning distracted by internal politics, woke policy debates, and lower standards. By insisting on a tougher, leaner, more combat-oriented ethos, he hopes to reforge a military built for decisive action. I think that's very important. Taken together, pressure from abroad, plus perceived weakness around the world, of distraction from within, a posture of readiness. Now, what it means, why the U.S. is getting ready for war, and what's going to happen. What's the logistic behind prepare for war? Well, there's a couple of reasons and things I'm going to mention now, and I'm going to explain to you. But number one is called deterrence. If adversaries believe we are ready and willing to fight, they may be less likely to attack or provoke. Avoid surprise. Wars rarely start on perfectly scheduled terms. Readiness ensures we aren't caught off guard. Like, for example, something that happened many years ago, or decades ago, better said, during the Pearl Harbor. I don't know if you remember, but those who are old enough to understand the history of the United States, there was an island that was attacked by the Japanese airplanes, and it ended up not very well for the United States. Force posture and modernization. Investing in more lethal capabilities, a streamlined command, and modernization means the tools are there when needed. Flexibility. A force of posture that emphasizes readiness allows rapid pivoting to multiple theaters, from Indo-Pacific to Europe, or responding to crises closer to home. But also, this signals sends messages to allies, rivals, and domestic audiences about seriousness, resolve, and break from what some see as indecision of prior years, or previous administrations, in other words. Now, what can we do as citizens right now just to be ready and prep for any type of situation that happens in our country? Because we may not be generals, but as citizens, we have roles to play. And here's how you can stay prepared and not to panic. Let me give you a couple of tips. Stay informed. Don't rely on single views, sources, or sound bites. Understand the context, motives, and caveats. Push for accountability. Support transparency in defense spending, congressional oversight, and robust debate about when and how we use force. Community resilience. Support local capacity. For example, emergency planning, disaster prep, mutual aid networks, because strong cities makes for stronger states. Personal preparedness. That's something you need to think about it directly. For example, me, in my case, I have ordered a few items or boxes from Amazon, food supplies, pretty much. And these food items can last from 5 to 7 years, but depends on the quality that you get. Sometimes they can last up to 15 to 20 years. They last longer, the more expensive it is, the actual food supply. So just be ready. If you have a couple of old, pair of walkie-talkies, keep it on hand because you might need it. In case of an emergency, and you can connect to your families or family members or even your neighbors. At least you have the walkie-talkies to talk to each other. Without going extreme, it's smart to have basics. A small emergency kit plan, communications plan with family, and awareness of local risk. Like, for example, natural disasters, cyber breakdown, etc. Civic engagement. Vote, speak up, join veterans or service organizations, and ensures the public voice shapes decisions on war, peace, and defense priorities. So the big question is here. Are we getting ready for a conflict on U.S. soil? Are you ready? Because the idea of conflict at home soil is unsettling. But preparedness isn't just a paranoia. Infrastructure hardening. Support investment in critical infrastructure, for example, your power grid, communication systems, cybersecurity, and supply chains. Civil defense plans. Yeah, you gotta have your own plan. Local and state governments should maintain robust plans for natural disasters, mass casualty events, or cascading failures. Cyber hygiene. And no, I'm not talking about your personal hygiene or hair care or nail, I'm talking about on a personal level. Use strong passwords, multi-factor authentication, backups, secure devices like phones, personal phones, hard drives, whatever you have is electronic. Because even foreign conflict often starts in cyberspace, believe it or not. Trusted information networks. In a crisis, accurate information matters. Know your local emergency alert systems. Build trusted channels in your community as well. Mental readiness. Crisis tests more than logistics. They test resolve. Cultivate flexibility, a mindset of preparation, not on fear. And community bonds that hold people together under a lot of pressure. So yeah, guys, we're living in a very hard, turbulent times, we can say, very worrisome. And you can hear about war here and there, Ukraine, Russia, now China trying to take Taiwan, and now Venezuela next door. War on cartels, like, Trump is calling it. But the call from Peter Hegseth to prepare for war may be a lot of controversial for you and other people, but it reflects a serious shift in rhetoric and policy. For us as Americans, readiness doesn't mean living in fear. It means being informed, engaged, resilient, and ready to act in our roles as citizens. If you found this value in this episode of my Daily News X, please share it with friends and family. Comment below what concerns or questions you have, and please subscribe to stay sharp. We'll keep watching for you and keep digging and keep bringing you clarity or any type of subject related to national security matters. Until next time, please stay alert, stay connected, and ultimately stay free. Have yourself a great day.